The left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement. If you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there. So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter. So I don't understand why we don't understand this. I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question.
Of course, whenever Tucker Carlson and Fox News does something racist, they immediately say, well, no, it's not about race. They're replacing us as voters. Okay, well, who is they? Well, he says, well, it's not about race. So what is, I guess it's about political ideology. But how do you know what their political ideology is? So the only thing you know about them is where they're coming from. And here, think about it this way. If you're a Republican and you're truly not racist, wouldn't you think, oh, good, those are more potential voters for us? Well, why don't you think that? You don't think that because they're not white.
We sent a camera to Ocasio-Cortez's congressional district and found that, you won't be surprised to hear, it is filled with garbage, litter and trash piled in public parks, on the sidewalks that have been overtaken by the homeless, etc., etc., etc. How can someone who claims to care about the environment so much he's going to ban air travel represent a district this dirty? So Seth, we're connoisseurs of irony on the show, but if you claim to care about the environment, you think that the little piece of America you're responsible for, that you represent in the Congress, would be clean, but hers isn't. Why?
Well, part of the reason is because her district is actually one of the least American districts in the country. And by that, I don't mean that it's not part of America, but it's occupied by relatively few American citizens. A very high percentage of her district is, in fact, illegal aliens. Now, the way they inhabit housing there is such that they live in a lot of illegal spaces like basements, and many people live there. So they wind up producing a lot of garbage that the landlords don't want thrown out normally. So hence you wind up with a lot of garbage on the streets. You have illegal food vendors pouring their pig grease into the gutters. Yeah, I mean, I worked out there. It can be a little gross.
First off, there is absolutely no evidence to indicate that the majority of people living in that district are undocumented immigrants.
He has no idea.
No idea, right?
What percentage, how many, he has no idea whatsoever.
And look, he was brought on to the show specifically to say what he said, right? And Tucker Carlson knows what he's doing, right? It's all about doing what it takes to lead to like a visceral reaction, like the reaction of disgust when it comes to immigrants. That's what they're trying to do here.
The United States is the kindest, most open-minded place on the planet. The US has done more for other people and received less in return than any nation in history by far. Ilhan Omar has an awful lot to be grateful for, but she isn't grateful, not at all. After everything America has done for Omar and for her family, she hates this country more than ever. In a recent piece in the Washington Post, the reporter put it this way, quote, in Omar's version, America isn't the big-hearted country that saved her from a brutal war and a bleak refugee camp. It wasn't a meritocracy that helped her attend college or vaulted her into Congress. Instead, it was the country that had failed to live up to its founding ideals, a place that had disappointed her and so many immigrants, refugees, and minorities like her.
Okay, so two things. One is it possible that the country could be wonderful to you and it could be a refuge for you, but you still want to make sure that it lives up to its standards and that it could have failings that you want to address because you actually care for the country rather than hating the country? Had that ever occurred to Tucker Carlson? No. If you ever criticize right-wing oppression of minorities in this country, that's it, you hate us. Who's us, by the way? That's my second point. You'll see in the second clip too, Tucker's always referring to us and we let them into the country. Now, does he mean Muslim Americans? Doesn't sound like it. Does he mean African Americans? Does he mean Latinos? The us always seems to be like us mighty white people. I mean, out of the decency of our heart, we let these people come into our country and they dare criticize us. First of all, Tucker, I got super bad news for you. It's not your country. It's all of our countries. We're all Americans. We're all 100% American. So that's a sad day for you. If you want a state that is purely white or purely Christian, well, you missed the boat, man. Yeah. There was one country in the middle of Europe that back in the 1930s, they had one race above all. And they were gonna rule for 1,000 years. Too bad it didn't work out for you guys.